So good afternoon, everyone. Please, a little louder. Good afternoon. This is a session about disruption. So after putting AI to work, let's see how it disrupts all of us. So imagine the year 2030. You are leading an HR team, and you have an AI assistant doing practically most of the recruitment work for you, checking the skills, linking everything to what's required, and making sure that you can do maybe 10 times the work you can do. Or hyper-personalized coaching for your leadership based on the skills that they have and continuously evolving as well. Or checking the employee sentiment by multiple means. Well, I think we are already there, more or less, after you hear the use cases shared by the earlier panel. So AI is not just a tool, but it's a co-pilot. It's a support that if you don't do it, it's at your own peril today. So the theme of today's session, adapting leadership and HR to AI disruptions, is actually not about technology, it's about people. And to do that, we have a really powerhouse panel of experts with me. They bring insights into leadership, strategy, and the AI transformation journey. So please give a hand for each one of them, starting with Anjali Raina, who brings leadership expertise from Harvard Business School's India Research Center, guiding leaders to think ahead. Anjali. My very own Punjabi pan, Manpreet Kaur, leading HR at Indian Bank's digital infrastructure company, bridging AI and banking. Pramila Kalive, CEO at Mastech, bringing a perspective from IT sector's very rapid AI-driven changes. Manjari Gokhale Joshi, founder of Maya Care Foundation, championing inclusion and empathy-driven HR. Alex Rinku, HR Director at Oracle India, where AI is not just a trend, but a core business enabler. Big hand for Alex. And finally, last but not the least, Asif Iqbal, VP of Human Resources at Gulf Oil, where AI really meets HR transformation. So these are the minds who will decode how leaders can thrive in an AI-driven world. But I'd like to add a few fun facts about some of them. So these are not just leadership and HR experts, but we have Manjari, who claims that she's in the race for the highest number of job and PhD application rejections thanks to AI. Let's give a hand for that. Or Manpreet, who's a basically human Google translator. She gives life advice in Marathi, seals a deal in Hindi, cracks a joke in Telugu, and can switch between 7 languages. So she beats AI at it. Or Alex, who's been a national level quizzer and a state level tennis player. Or Anjali, with a great background in banking and of course, MBA and an English honors undergrad. I'm not done. We have Pramila, who's a skydiver, bungee jumper, scuba diver, and so on. And finally, Asif, who besides global traveling is also busy in singing, engaging in creative outlets, using music as a form of relaxation and inspiration.
Thank you.
Okay, so guys, give a big hand again to this super panel. So the way we'll run this panel is we'll have about 35 minutes for some of the key issues that we think will be useful for the audience to learn from. And we'll try to leave about 10 minutes at least for questions, which you may have based on the learning that you get. So with that, let me start shooting. So the guy who's furthest away from me is Asif. So I like to put him on the spot by asking, you have a mic?
Yes, I do.
So what's the role of leadership in managing employee transitions during AI adoption in business, as we are seeing all over? What is really leadership should do? Asif, your thoughts on that?
Thank you, Raman, and thank you very much, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The role of leadership in employee transition during AI adoption is central, it's crucial. Strong leadership is essential in making AI adoption a success within the organization and outside? Through clear communications, through upskilling efforts, through ethical usages of AI within the organization, and also through collaboration within the functions. I think strong leaders can ensure that AI is seen as an enabler rather than disabler within the organization. Now, how can you achieve that as an organization? My view is, Raman, that A, you can set a vision and align that vision with the strategic objectives of the organization. Once you do that, from an organizational leadership perspective, the crux of the matter is communication, communication, and communication. When you go and buy a property,
Yep.
you say location, location, location.
Right.
When you start an initiative within the organization, the crux of the matter is how effectively you communicate that initiatives within the organization so that I, as an individual, see what's in it for me.
Yeah.
Is that an enabler or is that an interrupter? And once you clarify that with the help of an enhanced communication at the workplace and set that tone from the top, and then strategically align your business objectives to the effectiveness, I think the battle is won.
Thank you.
The second thing that I just wanted to focus on is workforce upskilling and then engagement of the resources.
Right.
Bring them as a part of your decision-making ability. And once they see that they are innate from a decision-making perspective, I think it would be a strong message. It would be a strong message from the leadership perspective.
Okay.
That's my view.
That's a good
on
start. Anjali, you like to add to that?
Absolutely. Asif, thank you very much for highlighting the importance of communication. So before I came into Harvard Business School, I worked as a banker. So I'm going to take you back to the 80s and the 90s when technology was being introduced in the banking sector in India. And there was a huge outcry because people were frightened. They thought that automation was going to replace their jobs. Many of us now use UPI and ATMs and online transactions. But in those days, there were cash tellers who would sit at the branches and hand out cash. It was a drudgery, you know. You had to balance your cash at the end of the day. They were very frightened that they were going to lose their jobs because of technology. And we had huge union issues. So communication is important because what happens is that each one of us is frightened by change. And AI, let us not mince words, we just heard the previous panel, is going to replace some jobs. Which jobs? The ones where human centricity is less. So if you're a data analyst, watch out. If you're a reader, watch out. Your job's at stake. In some cases, where the middle level human centricity is there, you have augmentation, as the previous panel talked about. AI will assist you. And in some jobs, which is at the bottom of the food chain today, a plumber, a builder, a gardener, or maybe a surgeon, AI will not be able to replace that job.
Yeah.
So this is what the World Economic Forum has talked about. That these are jobs, human centricity. The more human-centric the job is, the less chance it will be replaced. But there are going to be some jobs that are replaced. And the job of the leader, as Asif talked about, is to reduce that fear. There will be fright, there will be fear, and that's why we're seeing the rise of collective bargaining. I don't know how many of you have dealt with unions. All of us who grew up in the 80s and 90s dealt with unions.
Right.
Then unions lost their power. Now they are going to come back. And they're going to come back in white-collar jobs.
Right.
Why? Because people are frightened.
Yeah.
And that's where leaders can actually help
Right.
to remove that fear. I can say lots more, but I'm going to give other people a
Thank
chance.
you. Thank you, Anjali. Thank you so much. Alex, with the AI so much in use in Oracle, you want to add to the thoughts on this issue of the leadership's role?
Yeah, check. I think this is working. So I think we delved a lot on artificial intelligence, so I have to bring in a different paradigm with some natural intelligence or stupidity, don't know. Let's see. See, when you talk about AI and leadership, it is very important that the 3 W's are changing: the worker, the workplace, and the work. So the leaders need to evolve. When you talk about bottleneck, the neck of the bottle is always at the top. So how do the leaders transform culture from the top? And then how are we viewing the workforce differently, in tune with AI? Are we creating better jobs, job enrichment and job enlargement? Those are important. What are the skill gaps? Are we moving people there? Are we providing sufficient coaching, real-time feedback, mentoring, so that role of leaders are going to change? Because we have to tap the unique qualities or dimensions of AI and HI. So the 3 things, what I make a model when I teach is the 3 E's cannot be covered by AI. The first E is emotional intelligence. The second E is empathy. The third E is ethics, which human beings have to be there. That is where the true test of a leader is.
Thank you so much. Anyone else from the panel wants to join in on this question?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Pramila.
Ramanta, I'll just add to, going back to what can the leaders do to enable the organization go through this transition. I think everybody in the team, Anjali, Alex, and Asif called out. I'm seeing it in my industry, the IT services industry. Clearly, a lot of activities and jobs and roles will either get transformed, will get merged or consolidated. We are going to be looking at maybe, I don't know, it's 1/3, 20, 30, 40% of our teams who will not be in the current skill set fit for purpose as the new AI augmentation happens. So as leaders, what do we do with that 20, 30% people? Each of them brings something to the table. So how do we enable some of them to raise their hand and upskill and reskill themselves? So I think it's very important we deal with that challenge as well, because the whole workforce, a set of them are going to be redundant. How do we work with handling that change with them to make sure they are fit for purpose?
That's a major change, absolutely major change. Manjari, you want to add to it? Okay, let's pass the mic there, please, Pramila.
Thanks, Raman. I'll just, I need to ask the audience for this answer. 3 questions for the audience. How many of you like champagne?
Champagne. Oh,
champagne.
Any takers? Very few. Okay.
Okay. Very few people like champagne. Okay. How many of you speak Marathi?
Okay. Maybe 15-20%.
Last question. How many of you have delegated a responsibility or a job to someone in your team and it hasn't gone the way you thought it would?
Okay, quite a few.
Okay. That's your answer. There is a Marathi play called Makda Chahati Champagne, right? So those who speak Marathi, you know, the makad is a monkey. So the play is called Champagne, a bottle of champagne in the hands of a monkey.
Right.
Right? So the monkey is not the leader, monkey is AI. Right? So the leader needs to know what to delegate and what not to delegate and how. And at the end of it, if we are not going to take responsibility for delegating it in a way where the job is going to be done properly, not just by somebody in our team, but also the machine we have now entrusted with our core responsibility, there's going to be chaos. Because that's what the monkey does, right? Chaos. I mean, if you actually give this champagne entire bottle, and if you don't give it in flutes, what's going to happen?
So that's the perfect segue to my next question, which is how do we really effectively train our workforce for this AI-driven transformation in HR and in operations? I mean, not just in HR, but all around. So again, Asif, you want to be the opening batsman?
Sure. My view is we can do a very structured work around it. I mean, this entire confusion of AI and it's going to take away your role is not entirely true. There are impacts, like any of the initiatives that you do. But there are some solid advantages to do that too. What we need to do from leadership perspective is to assess the readiness of the organization first. How many people, frankly speaking, how many leaders are even aware about the impact of the AI? We are talking about it. Are we really aware about how much it impacts you? So I guess if you do an organizational readiness, conduct skills audit to see where we stand, and create AI awareness, digital literacy, where we have. So that's the first thing that I would suggest, Raman. And the second thing is then put together a very structured AI-led transformation, learning and the development intervention at the workplace. Bring the collaboration efforts within the departments, identify what help they need in terms of the training, put those training as a part of your regular calendar, effectively train them, prepare them, and then they would start looking at it in terms of, no, this is not coming as a job taking away from me. It's an opportunity for me to lose some of the jobs that are mundane, but there are skills where I can grow myself with. It would bring a lot of opportunity as a part of the things that you embrace as a part of your AI adoption.
So what you're saying is not leave it to chance, but
Correct.
really have a very, very...
But I'll leave the panel with the third situation is, bring AI as a part of your culture within the organization. It cannot be seen as a special event in my organization. One day, I would celebrate AI adoption and completely forget about it.
Right.
Bring the culture of AI adoption within the organization, and the role of leaders in bringing that in place is more than anybody else within the organization.
Manpreet, may I come to you for that?
Sure. Thank you so much, Raman. सबसे पहले आप सबको प्यार भरा नमस्कार. I'm sure AI will not welcome you like this. So that's the human touch we wanted to add.
Let's give a hand to that.
Thank you
For
so
the
much.
pyar bhara namaskar from Manpreet.
All right. Now think about the first time you have, used a mobile phone in your hand. Now imagine as HR colleagues, tomorrow, if I give you an HR tool for doing HR analytical data-driven conceptualization, how would you feel? You have been using spreadsheets for the last 20 years. What is that fear in your mind? Would you feel excited about it? This is exactly what happened when a multinational company used AI, driven data too much for the performance appraisal. So employees came, the data which was given, projected on the screen was, on some random information which they have projected in the computer. They said, you are being underperforming. An employee was feeling, I am the star performer, my reviews went very well. Imagine the uncertainties. So according to me, training is there, but I think more before that, I think the mindset need also an adaptation, that once we have that mindset that AI needs to come. I have a couple of examples, on the training part. Amazon's Machine Learning University. So what they do is they train non-tech employees in AI skills, ensuring the literacy of AI company-wide. Second example, I have it for Unilever's AI adoption program, where the HR teams are trained in AI-driven hiring processes, which reduces the hiring time by 50%. So I think training is important, but leaders, we need to enhance both the arms together and move it forward.
Manjari, you want to add something? Then I'll come to Anjali.
Yes, I'd just like to bring in two extreme ends of the spectrum where the people being trained are, I work with people who are disabled in Maya Care Foundation. Everyone who works with us is disabled. They're either visually impaired or they're wheelchair users, or some of them cannot hear. So at that end of the spectrum, you're looking at a basic scale of what can be trained, what is trainable, what is not possible. And at the other end, the last 2 years I've been working at Side Business School at Oxford, where it's a very different demographic of the kind of people who want to be trained or don't want to be trained in whatever else we're working on. So coming back to training, I'll go back to, I think, Asif's point of, as a leader at the top, what are you going to do in terms of your training and learning strategy? Which bits need to be trained? What do you want at the end of it? What kind of organization are you building? So if you're building an organization of followers, the lowest common denominator is very easy. And then what Anjali spoke about in the beginning, everybody's job is at risk because here is a whole team of thousands of followers. So if you don't differentiate between a task and a job and a responsibility, right? So if you want a task and a job, it's very easy to train because then you just ask AI to do it. It's so easy then. But the minute you bring in the word responsibility, who wants responsibility? Then you're doing something which is very, very scary for
Yes.
people.
Thank you.
Because you're putting people in charge of their own lives.
Yeah.
And then just AI is not going to work, because then the kind of training you have to do is experiential training. You have to combine it with coaching, training, all kinds of things, bring in all the complexity of HBS and everything else.
Like AI plus HI. There's no
AI
option.
Yes. So as long as we are very clear what's the purpose of the training
Yeah.
and what's going to be the end result and where do those people want to
Thank
go. And people can make that choice in the beginning. I want to be a follower of this thing for the next 5 years of my life, and I'm fine. And there are lots of people in the world saying, I want to only do this job. I don't want to do anything else. It's perfectly all right then to delegate that to AI.
Okay.
But to expect people to suddenly become leaders and be very responsible and accountable and everything, all the complexity we're talking about, and just leave it to AI, then you're going to have what Manpreet said happen.
Thank you. Thank you, Manjari.
So,
Anjali?
so building on what you're saying, I'll give an example from my own workplace. You all know that I work for Harvard Business School, and we study the trends that are shaping the region and write case studies which document new business models that are emerging. So our job is not just data. We actually go to the field, we meet people, we interview them, and we ask questions. So framing those questions, knowing what to ask, is very important. And that's what the researchers in my team really are accomplished at. So to introduce, now this is a human-centric job, but AI can assist in this and it can augment their capabilities. But these are very intelligent people. They're all, they're all postgraduates. They also, some of them are old and some of them are only 21 or 22 years old. So to actually augment their skills and make them comfortable with using AI to create better questions, we created an experiment in a team meeting, in a research meeting. We do research meetings every day. So there was one field interview which we had to do. The young researcher, only 21 or 22 years old, he was the youngest in the team. You see, the youngest are the most comfortable with it.
Yeah.
So he did a lot of research, he did a lot of reading, and he created a bank of questions. And he brought those questions to the team meeting, and then the whole team actually used AI, thought of different questions first out of their heads, and then we used AI collectively to generate other questions.
Right.
And to our surprise, many of the questions were similar. Some of the questions were hallucinations, which we knew because we had studied it.
Yeah.
But some new ideas came out through the AI tool.
Great.
That gave the team confidence that AI can actually augment and improve the quality of the work that we are doing. And it created a safe place because everybody was experimenting together.
Yeah.
Some of the older people said, I don't want to use AI, it'll replace me. Then what's the value that I'm going to add? By creating a safe place in a 15, 20, 30-minute meeting, we reduced the fear, we showed them the augmentation, and we also taught them the skill. So I think this is what the leader can do. You have to be a little thoughtful.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Anjali. Pramila, you want to add to it?
So Raman, I think I'll give a different perspective on this. We all understand thanks Anjali. Understand the importance of training. We understand it is required to keep the workforce relevant, organizations to move forward. AI is here. So that's the easier part. Now, how do you generate the hunger? To me, any learning training effort is most effective when the learner is willing to bring her 120% and saying, this is my opportunity to stay relevant and to continue to do what I'm doing. So creating that, I would call that positive paranoia, is important.
Yeah.
All of us need to be aware, whether you're a CXO sitting here or you're a fresher who's just joined the company, that you better, that shake up is important.
This conference is designed to generate paranoia.
Yeah, I think
that's
that
one of the
paranoia
purposes of the conference.
And positive anxiety for all of us is important because there begins the journey of the learner saying, hey, I'm hungry, I want to raise my hand.
Yeah.
As leaders and organizations, we provide the platform. But unless the learner is willing to come and do this, it won't happen.
Thank you.
And then the learner, like Anjali said, I'm a learner. It's very difficult for me to embrace AI in my day to work. But a fresher, she's just joined the company 2 weeks back, is just lapping it up when we're doing it in Mastic. So again, we can't take one broad stroke and say we'll put all of you through the same training. Persona-based. As CXOs, we had to go through a very painful workshop with Microsoft to explain to us how to use Copilot responsibly. right? It's very easy to just download the license and use it.
Yeah.
But for the youngsters, something else worked. For those who are middle managers, they had to be AI literate first. So AI literacy, then AI augmentation. So
Yeah.
we had to do different strokes for different folks.
Fantastic.
And we use hackathons for those who are in customer-facing roles, saying, please come, bring your customer problem, bring your challenge. Can we reward the best ideas? Weaving it into the awards, weaving it into day-to-day. We do a weekly steer-co on AI. We invite somebody who nobody knows has found an answer in her or his customer problem
Wow.
to come and tell the organization, I had this and I fixed it. So celebrating
Yes.
early failures and attempts also, not
Yeah.
just those who found the answer, but having tried. But letting people know that it's here to stay, it will augment, but you have to reskill yourself. You don't have a choice. As an organization, we will provide this. The last bit is, I believe impact has to be measured for any initiative.
Correct.
How many training hours, how many training programs, how many licenses you bought for the company is just an input, and
Yeah.
at best a
Not an outcome.
lead indicator
It's not an
saying you're
outcome.
doing the right thing.
Yeah.
So I think Jaideep in the earlier sessions said it best. For me, it is just faster, cheaper, better. If you're in HR, how do you hire faster? How do you hire cheaper? And how do you hire better quality talent?
Yeah.
If you are an HR business partner, how do you retain better, right? And if you are a comp and ben person, how do you still make sure you're competitive in the market
Yeah.
and you're still able to hire the talent? Any function you take, I think finally we
Sure.
have to hold ourselves accountable. We're not going to do AI for the sake of AI, right? It is to survive, to stay, to retain your business and grow. Unless we attach that measure,
Yeah.
either for individual companies, I guess the effort will be it really will not unlock the potential.
Thank you, Pramila. I think earlier we talked about the fear in the minds of employees. So with that, I like to segue to the next question, which is, what all strategies can, we as leaders adopt so that there's a culture of trust and transparency whenever you think of introducing AI or when you introduce AI. So Manpreet, can I pose that to you first?
Sure. So whenever I hear the word culture, I really get excited because I worked with last 2 organizations where we are trying to build culture. सबसे पहले कल्चर बनाना बहुत मुश्किल है और उसको सस्टेन करना उससे भी ज़्यादा मुश्किल है.
Right.
So organization as HR leaders, as HR fraternity, it's very easy for somebody कि आपकी कंपनी का कल्चर अच्छा है या बुरा है. But how do we kind of make such culture? So just example I have and for you guys is Google has used an ethic board to create AI transparency in hiring and employee cycle. So that means a culture can only be built when there is clear communication, empathy-based communication. If we are saying that we want to create culture, we need to tell people, in case we are going to add AI layer into this, we need to say why we are using it, what is the roadmap, what we are going to try to use and build that culture. Another example I have for about Microsoft, who is responsible for their AI framework. What they are trying to do is they are ensuring AI applications which are explainable and also fair to employees. So imagine a culture which is built with the stones of trust would see the light of the day. So if we are building a culture, it has to be clear, empathy-driven communication is would by 2 words on that.
Thank you. Pramila, you want to add to that?
I think I'll just add to what Manpreet said. We've talked about AI again. Unless it is the stated vision of the organization, starting from the top, the organization is clear about what's your approach to AI, right? Mm-hmm. What are we trying to do in this space? Why is it important? Unless the why is very well articulated in the organization, it can't be the flavor of the year, like we said it. One more initiative that we're going to do this year and jump to the next one. That is very important. So from the CEO to the CXO, it's extremely important for them to articulate the why part. The way we've addressed it in Mastic is, it's a huge mission now. So we took one of our most successful leaders out from what he was doing, right? Though it hurt us, it still hurts us immediately, but told him, this is your new role, right? You will wake up and sleep to the concern of saying, how do we keep the organization relevant and how do we unlock the power of AI? We took another 15 people away from different functions, formed a core team. Now, the core team has to be representative of all functions, all generations, all backgrounds, because they look at AI through a different lens. So that importance of articulation and answering the why part individuals and teams to say why it is important, and you continue to talk about it in all the relevant sessions, is sending the message saying this is serious business for us and for our customers. I think that's the way we have tried to build it into, like I just mentioned, whether into the rewards, into next year it will go into the KPIs, saying using AI, what's been the impact?
Yeah.
It could be employee engagement, retention, it could be customer satisfaction, or very tangible for doing more with less
Yeah.
productivity. I think that's been the way we have taken it.
Anybody wants to add to that? Asif, you want to add to that?
Yeah, so the culture, when you talk about, it starts with the purpose. See, the purpose, mission, vision, values of a company, how well that has been cascaded down to the grassroots level. That is important. Number two is, are we having a AI-ready culture already, or at what level we are? Because data is the new oil. If you do not have the right data, you do not have the right processes, then the AI is going to be a biased version. So do we have the right data with us? And secondly, we need authentic leadership. We need an agile leadership where, there is psychological safety, there is authenticity, there is trust, there is, a commitment for performance and for learning. Do we have, like Peter Senge talks about the fifth discipline, are we a learning organization? Because when we are transitioning to AI from maybe a non-digital or partly digital, the learning organizations are one which will win. And last but not the least, do we have a growth mindset to change, to adapt, to be curious, and that will create a win-win for all the stakeholders.
Thank you.
Raman, I just want to add, when you are introducing AI at the workplace, because this is the buzzword at this point in time, I had to begin with, as Pramila has alluded on, communication is the fundamental, explicitly and openly communicate about it.
Yes.
But what is also very important, Pramila, and I guess you would agree with me, is to address the fear about HI. If you address that, then people will start looking at it. It's not something which will take away my job to begin with, but would give me an opportunity to upskill myself.
Yeah.
And how leaders can do it by bringing the real life examples at the workplace, productivity, operational efficiencies, use of human resources in recruitment processes, use of operational efficiencies parameters, how we can imbibe it together. That would help immensely in the organization.
Yeah.
The other thing that I would just like to add here is that AI should be taken as a journey rather than one stop shop to begin with very quickly.
Yeah.
You have to collaborate. You can't dictate the introduction of AI at a workplace. You will create chaos at the workplace if you start dictating it.
Okay.
You have to create AI champions within the organization. Like when Manpreet was talking about culture champions, right? She was trying to introduce the culture within the organization. What do? You create culture champions in all businesses that you have. They become your ambassadors of the culture. Similarly, if you have AI champions within the workplaces, they'll start communicating the real-time examples
It's a good
to
idea.
tell people and assure people
Good idea.
that it's in it for you, right?
Thank you.
That's my
I'm going to stop here and give the audience a chance to ask questions. Panel chairpersons are presently excluded. Ramesh, please put your hand down. Let's have the genuine audience ask questions. Sorry. Come on, Ramesh.
Well, I'm addressing it to anyone on the panel who'd like to answer it. The fundamental assumption during all of your discussion was that it's the human leadership that is adapting and managing the AI that is getting introduced into the organization so far. Can we talk about when AI itself replaces leadership roles? In fact, just as I was listening to you, I Googled, and here is the Tang Yu, an AI-powered virtual humanoid robot was made the CEO of Fusion NetDragon Websoft, a subsidiary of the Chinese gaming company NetDragon Websoft. And there's a couple of other examples. So what happens when AI just replaces the human leadership altogether?
All tough questions to the panel only. Anyone wants to?
Yeah, I think that was a great question. Technically, that point is called the singularity point. The point where the machines will take over human. But one thing is important is that the human judgment, we should make ourselves the master. The AI should be serving us, be an enabler. So the AI will be as good as the person who is the master or the human who is controlling, who is programming. If we are biased and we are evil, the AI is also going to be the same way. But if we are, going to be ethical, moral, and the right judgment, the AI is also going to mimic our thing. And like I mentioned before, I love the Hawaii model, HW plus AI, human wisdom plus artificial intelligence makes the world go round.
Okay. Thank you. Next question. Advait, you want to come up quickly and use the mic? Speed is of the essence. Come.
Yeah, thanks. While the question is on role of leadership in changing for AI, my question to any of you is should CEOs and MDs be worried about AI vis-a-vis their role?
CEOs replacing them?
AI threatening CEOs.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it's a very important question because all of us as thinkers and leaders believe that we have reached this place because of years and years of experience and because we're more intelligent and so on and so forth. And can a machine really take over that thinking ability? I think one can use that question to actually improve yourself and your own development in a different way. For example, in our country, we have UPI. And UPI enables us to interact with each other and make payments directly. So I can pay Manpreet without going through my bank. But we have 22 languages in our country, and each language has 5 dialects. And we cannot communicate socially because all of us don't speak the same language. Only 13% of our country speaks the same language. So as leaders, how can we enable this communication, which Asif highlighted, across languages? And for that, all AI today is based on Western languages, mostly on English, and a little bit on Chinese. But there are some youngsters who are now developing Indian language data. And that is what will actually make the difference. So AI will replace leaders, but leaders need to keep a step ahead and do something more. And my challenge to all of you is, how can we use Bhashini, which is the India stack for Indian languages? Just like in banking, which is where I was, we connect now directly, and we can transfer money anywhere in our country and now to 15 countries overseas without coming through banks. Can we communicate using our 22 Indian languages and over 200 dialects, using artificial intelligence? And can we as leaders push that? One company has done that, Ujjivan, small finance banking. And if you haven't seen it, look at their AI-empowered interface for the poorest of the poor, for the illiterate. That's what a leader can do.
Thank you so much, Anjali. Let's give a hand to the brilliant answer. Yes, ma'am. Introduce yourself, your organization, and your question.
Sure. Hi, my name is Arnaz Ashraf, and I am a Gallup Strengths coach. I am from NTT. I have a question. My question is this. So from a Gallup perspective, right, you have hope, trust, compassion, and stability. These are the 4 things people are looking out for leaders, right? Given that there are multiple things at play currently, so you have culture, you have technology, you have retention, you have attrition, you have roles being made redundant. How should leaders actually be working? You've given a lot of hope, Asif, right? Each one of you have talked about different aspects of it, but you need to keep the people who stay with you going, you need to motivate them, you need to keep them agile. But at the same time, you need to look at the business. Faster, cheaper, right? Everybody is looking at ROI as well. So how do you balance that?
That's the reason CEO salaries are going up. It's getting to be a more and more complex job.
It is.
I mean, the laundry list is not just 4. The laundry list is much longer and depend on the situation. But anybody on the panel?
Raman, I'll just take the liberty of starting.
Please.
This. I started my conversation on the first question, I guess. Clear communication, upskilling, collaboration, and ethical implementation of AI. These are the 4 parameters through which you can adapt human resources-led transformations or AI-led transformations within the human resources. Let's go back to the basics. Whenever you start a new initiative within the organization, what do? You communicate. You address the fear. You highlight the champions within the business. They speak about the real-time examples. Let's invest some time on AI.
And you talk about the purpose, why you want that initiative.
Vision should be there. First of all, we have to train the chief executives and the general managers of the business to understand the nuances of AI in adopting it, intervention within. If they are knowledgeable, they will bring a lot of tone from the top to assure people on the ground that it's an enabler and not a disabler, my view.
Thank you, Asif. Can I have the next question? So let's take more questions. And yes, ma'am, go ahead. Introduce yourself and your question.
I'm Disha Mehra, founder of Blink Prime Consulting. And my question is to all the HR leaders, since this is the HR panel, that will HR be replaced by AI? So, for example, one is, will the HR leaders be replaced by AI? Second is, for the youth. Today we face interviews in person, we express our experience. Will that process be changed completely through AI, where we don't have to meet the HR heads and just apply, and a lot of people may lose the opportunity, a lot of people may get that opportunity. So,
because I have the mic, Disha, so I'll take a liberty to answer it. Thank you so much for your question, Disha. So now let me take you back in 1800s. What happened when electricity came for the first time? Engines, those who were run with coal and all that, what happened to that? All the workers were very terrified that what would happen, where their jobs will, what will happen to their jobs. But slowly, steadily, they have adopted that technology. The industry as such also changed. Everyone trained themselves and the whole landscape changed. So whether it is a worker at a smaller level or an HR person or a CEO, I don't think AI is going to replace. Like I said, we as leaders has to be enabler, like communication, the path has to be a clear roadmap should be there. I think it will be a journey from anxiety to opportunity, is what I would like to say.
Yeah, I'll just take a minute to tell. See, the combo will work because the human has unique, personality traits, and the AI has some things that humans don't have. So that is where the predominance of humans would remain. That's why the AI tool is called co-pilot, not pilot. Humans are the pilot. And DeepSeek, the latest thing, the message in that is also, you may use DeepSeek, but seek deep.
I'll go back to my fun fact, what you talked about. I have another fun fact that among all the booms and busts the industries have seen, and people at the back don't think, the young people, this is not the first time that jobs are going to be replaced or people are not going to get jobs. There's been the .com one, the financial, there's so many. I mean, over the history of business, there's so many times when everybody's going to lose their jobs, right? But somehow I've had this once in 2000 during the .com bust, and once also in the financial one, 2008, and once much later in London when everybody was being sacked, and I thought, why am I not being sacked? Everybody's being sacked around me because their jobs are going. And not to AI, they were going to something else because of the way the industry was headed. So the answer really goes back to what Manpreet was saying, whether it's electricity, whether it's the internet, whether it's TV, it's whoever, Y2K or whatever. Everybody's jobs are going to be at risk only if you're waiting to be given responsibility. I mean, that's the bottom line, right?
I think the mantra is you disrupt yourself before you get disrupted.
Perfect,
So that's perhaps summarization. Yes, sir. Go ahead. Take the mic from her and introduce yourself and your question quickly, please.
Good afternoon. This is Arnab Basu. I head the human resources for Arvind. Well, I'm forgetting the name. Manpreet. Manpreet ji, wonderfully took examples of two companies. One was Microsoft and another is one of my ex-company, that is Unilever. So, getting this information sounds really great that, Unilever is doing all these things in AI. But let me tell you, Unilever is one of those companies who invests a lot in people training in AI as well. And that is the main reason that even Unilever recently, one of the factories got awarded by World Economic Forum. So my question is, we have learnt a lot about, asking the talents to get ready and all those. So are most of our Indian organizations enabling themselves or making themselves ready to train the talent and to nurture the talent? Because in COVID also, the most easiest way was to, get rid of the employees. But even an employer like Tata didn't do so. So with AI and all these things, getting rid of the talents is very easy. But are the Indian organizations making themselves ready to nurture the talents and for the right fitment in the other areas?
जिस तरीके से आपने मेरा नाम लिया तो मैं तो डर ही गई सबसे पहले. क्वेश्चन तो मैंने आधा सुना है नहीं, बट मैं तो बहुत ही डर गई. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, लाइक फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, थैंक यू सो मच फॉर द क्वेश्चन. Like I was just saying in my previous thought also that you're saying organizations are ready. Who were ready for COVID? As a HR person, you are, leading teams. That's the uncertainty we are living in. So how are we going to make the entire, because we know that AI is going to come, we need to ensure that it is communicated properly. People, our employees have been part of that journey. You can run surveys and ask, do you want to, have this analytical tool for your HR-driven exercise? Ask people, do surveys so that you can make yourself ready for that shift. कोई भी चीज़ ओवररात होती ही नहीं है. It takes some time, it takes a while to have that transition. So as HR leaders, because we can predict that something is going to come new, I think we should be equipped, make ourselves equipped, be training, like Asif was saying, empathy-driven training needs to be there. If tomorrow I ask you कि अगर आपको एक AI की tool की training लेनी है, would you prefer 8 hours training? Would you prefer a capsule training? Or would you prefer a real-time example training? So those are the things which you need to think as a, as a leader and, build the stepping stones for the change.
Yeah, and that's the tone from the leadership, by the way. I mean, you need to first find out a vision. What's your AI vision? Do you have AI vision? And then can you connect that vision with the strategic objective of the business? How is that helping your business from a productivity perspective, from operational efficiency? Once that is clear, then the rest of the departments will collaborate, will find out the right training and the development interventions, will do skills evaluation and assessment, will find organizational readiness. But the tone of the top is very important in starting this culture of AI adoption within the organization. If we go back to the basics, Raman, I guess that's the crux of the matter.
I'd just like to add to what we're saying over here, that have faith. There's a lot of good stuff happening in our country. There's an organization called NSDC, National Skill Development Corporation, led by a fabulous gentleman called Vedmani Tiwari. And what he is doing is creating a platform which can enable Indian organizations and Indians individually to upskill and reskill themselves at scale. I won't say any more because there's a lot available in the public domain, but it's not only dependent on the individual, it's not only dependent on the companies. The government and NSDC are doing a lot for this environment.
I think we've really run out of time. Thank you to the very receptive audience for your questions, but we are there at lunchtime. I don't want to stand between you and lunch. Organizers have assured there's a fabulous lunch, or that's what I heard. So I just want to give Manpreet the opportunity to take the last few seconds.
So I just asked ChatGPT कि give me a शायरी on AI and HR. So this is what he says. AI ने संभाली फाइलों की भीड़, HR के सपने को मिला नए उड़ान का तीर. तकनीक बदली पर दिल वही रहेगा, इंसानियत का रिश्ता हमेशा खास रहेगा. Thank you.